That movie sucked.
I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.
Hello and welcome to the restricted section. We are a raunchy, rowdy, rambling, unabashedly pro-trans rights Harry Potter book club podcast hosted by a bunch of millennial, nihilistic assholes who are desperately clinging to childhood fantasy as a way to escape the monotony of our 9-to-5 work culture and the inevitable extinction of the human race at our own hands. Isn't it wild that this book series was spontaneously created by the gods and has no actual author? Welcome to the show!
Wow. Am I in therapy right now?
Did you write that?
Yes,
Surely you wrote that.
I wrote that.
That was beautiful.
You know, that was like really good. You should consider writing more. Have you thought about being a writer at all?
No, actually, you're the first person who's ever said that to me.
Like, I think you have a hidden talent here.
Whoa, okay. Wait, I'll think about that actually for a little while. I'll think about it. It is my supreme honor to be joined today by my assiduous friend, Grace. Say hello to the listeners, Grace.
Hello, listeners.
It is my most delicious privilege to be joined as well by my astute buddy, Brooke. Say hello to the listeners, Brooke.
I am so excited that you came up with new adjectives for this season.
I wrote them ahead of time, and they all mean things that actually describe you.
Delicious.
And last but never least, it is my most excellent pleasure to be joined by my sardonic pal, Mary-Peyton. Say hello to the listeners, Mary-Peyton.
You really nailed it. Hello.
Hey, we're here. We're recording. I've truly missed this podcast so much. I do think breaks are important, but, you know, absence makes the heart grow fonder, and I'm more excited about this podcast than I've ever been in this moment. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. We're doing a little bit of a Goblet of Fire introduction. Not that anyone really needs an introduction. A little bit of like a mailbag, owl mail, ask me anything. Just doing a whole lot of hyping up.
We're here to guzzle from the goblet, baby.
Yeah, we're just guzzling over here. I'm like actively burping from my Moscow meal as I'm trying to get that line out. So before we go any further, some housekeeping stuff from over the summer. We have a couple new patrons that deserve a shout out. We're super grateful for our patrons. We love them so much. So this one's for you, Anna and Foster. They're awesome. We met them both on our Discord server after they signed up, and we're just like so grateful to have them as part of our community. So thank you, Anna. Thank you, Foster, for supporting the podcast. It's because of you that we can do cool things like this season we're going to start posting transcriptions of every episode to make them more accessible to people who are hard of hearing.
Awesome.
Yeah, I believe that.
Wait. Who reported they had a hard time hearing your voice?
Nobody. I'm doing it preemptively. Our patrons help us be able to do really awesome things like that. So speaking of the Patreon, please join us. Support our efforts to be as inclusive as possible by becoming a patron. You can find that link in the show notes. All right, that's quite enough. Before we get started, we have some really awesome emails from listeners. We have some questions from some of our patrons. And I also have just some like discussion topics as well. But before we get started, Grace, Mary-Peyton, I know you've read this book a lot. I have also read it a lot. I just wanted to start with getting maybe Brooke's 1-minute summary of the Goblet of Fire. Are you up for that, babe?
Oh boy. Okay. All right, hold on. I'm gonna put
Good luck.
If anyone can do this, it's Brooke.
Hey, Siri, set a timer for 1 minute.
Oh, God.
1 minute, counting down.
Go.
Okay, so this book I haven't read in ages. So this is going to be primarily me describing the movie, which I have seen far more often to you. But it's generally that we all arrive at Hogwarts and Dumbledore's like, hey, spoiler alert, this year someone else is going to die. Hey, just kidding. No, seriously, people could die this year. We're doing a whole ass tournament. And after like a lot of like male ego posturing, the other schools show up. And apparently in all the magical world, there's like one French school full of chicks and there's like one Bulgarian school full of dudes. I already fucked up because I missed the entire beginning where we take a time right? Port key to the whole ass broom flying Quidditch. That's the word. Man, I'm rusty.
10
Championship.
seconds.
And Death Eaters show up and they like burn that ish to the ground. Okay, so now we're back at school, right?
4
And
seconds.
We're like, okay, we're gonna do this whole tournament. We do the tournament. Harry gets stuck in a maze. All of a sudden, he's trying to kiss a girl. No, never mind. It's Cedric. Cedric's dead. Oh my god, my boy!
Well done.
I think that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was 1 minute. Thank you so much. That's really important context for this episode and for our listeners moving forward. Brooke, do you remember reading this book just like for the first time?
Yes. This was the first book where I was like old enough and caught up enough with the series where I had been like actually reading along that I got to go to a midnight book release. This was my first Harry Potter midnight book release.
Cool.
And they were like, here, child, have some trauma.
And you said, thank you very much. I'll take it.
I said, I'm going to stay up and not sleep and not eat anything until I've read this book.
And this is the first long one. So that was a real commitment.
It is 730 something pages.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, it's honestly a good thing that this book came after the books had already gotten successful, because could you imagine trying to convince a publisher to publish a 700-page children's book?
No. I mean, hard no. We at Brandy Lane, we automatically reject manuscripts of a certain length.
They're like, we'll check the word count, and then if it's too high, we say sorry.
Sorry, we just can't. Awesome. So, Mary-Peyton, do you remember reading this for the first time, or slash what? How do you feel about this book? Where does it like rank for you?
Yeah. Well, whenever someone asks me which is my favorite book, I always say the seventh one, because it just like wraps everything up. It's so dark. It's so good. But that one I like because it's like the ending one. It makes sense that is my favorite kind of the series. This one really is my favorite book on its own. And yeah, I definitely remember reading this for the first time. Of all the books, I think I remember this one the most, going to the book release, and the book was huge, like double the size of the one before. Maybe, wait, do we know how many pages?
It is absolutely, I think it is possibly like almost 3 times as long as the previous one. It is absolutely double book 3.
Mm-hmm.
Which was just the most exciting thing for me as a kid who was just obsessed with reading anyways.
Do y'all remember if like we knew ahead of time that it was going to be so long, or if that just really caught everyone off guard?
I remember being at the party, and whether or not that information was publicly available, I remember the first person getting their book because we could like see them in line, and they held it up and they were like, oh my god, it's so big.
A small like 7-year-old child is trying to carry this 20-pound
like
book out.
Notably chunky book.
Yeah. I remember hearing that it was going to be that long before getting it. And I don't know I don't know how, or if I'm just making that up, but I do remember hearing that. And I remember staying up way too late on a school night finishing this book because it was so freaking good.
Yeah. It's amazing how fast you can read this book. Here's a little confession time. Here's a little look behind the curtain. I just finished reading this book today, because I'm trying this new thing where I'm really prepared for the podcast that I run. So if I seem freshly traumatized by this story, it's because I absolutely am. It reads so quickly. I was reading like 300 pages of this book in one sitting. It's just absolutely astounding. Grace, what about you? Where does this book fall on your list of your ranking? Do you remember reading it as a kid? What's going on?
I don't know if this was the first time I read it, but I did have it read to me. My stepmom, for some reason, read this book and only this book.
That's a lot of words.
To us kids. So, that was kind of cool. I definitely remember her reading like the whole Yule Ball scene. I don't know why.
Because you were like, that's really awkward. Someone is getting felt up in the bushes right now.
Snogging.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep.
Snogging.
But this one is definitely my favorite book, so I'm so excited for the reread.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. It really is. This is the moment where the author, who shall not be named, started, I think, really trusting the readers. There is so much that goes on in this book. And also, it's the first story that Harry gets caught up in that, like, isn't just because he was meddling. This is, like, happening to him,
Yeah.
He really doesn't do, like, almost anything wrong in this whole book. Whereas before it's like, let me go really involve myself in this. So I think also it's like the first book where you can kind of actually really root for Harry in like a real way.
Yeah, I do feel like the whole time you kind of feel bad for Harry.
God, so bad for
You're just
every
like, dude.
fucking word from cover to cover.
Yeah.
From the womb to the tomb, Harry. Are you okay? God, and just okay. So, like I said, freshly traumatized, trying to move on. So let's start with an email from Jim. Hey, Jim. Thank you so much for your email. Jim says, hey, I noticed how you said that Muggleborns in Harry Potter don't always think to use magic immediately. And it reminded me how in Avatar, The Legend of Korra, Book 3, spoiler alert, I'm saying it before I say the spoiler. Spoiler alert for Legend of Korra at the end of it.
Dang it.
Wait, Grace, have you not seen it?
No.
Is that why you said dang it?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wait, why did I think you had seen it?
What?
Okay, for real, skip ahead to 13 minutes and 3 seconds, if you would. Why did I think you... Mary-Peyton, wait, do you even watch Avatar?
I haven't.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. I don't mind spoiling
I've
it for
never
someone
seen
who...
Korra, which is
Grace,
a mistake. Honestly.
Do you need to abscond yourself for this email?
Let me just like remove
Jim,
the
you're
headphones.
causing trouble.
Just like give me some hand waving when it's
Mary-Peyton, do you want to abscond or like are you...
I kind
are
of
you
want to
good?
because I still want to see it.
All right, take
Okay.
your headphones off.
Okay,
This will be a me and Brooke
We're just
one.
gonna stare at you the whole time, though.
It's not a question. It's just a cute little parallel. Bye, everyone. Wow, I thought that I had calculated this correctly, and I had not. Okay. Jim says, I noticed how you said that Muggleborns in Harry Potter don't always think to use magic immediately, and it reminded me how, in Legend of Korra, Book 3, the new Airbenders behave similarly, where they don't always have the immediate instinct to use their newfound abilities, and instead opt for more elaborate plans and maneuvers to escape trouble. I thought that was a very interesting parallel.
That is interesting. I mean, do we really like see that play out as much in Harry Potter as we do in Legend of Korra, though?
I think the one thing I'm thinking of is when Hermione is like, light a fire, but there's no wood. And Ron has to be like, are you a witch or not?
Yes.
One really aggressive example.
But that's like a dropping the ball example. I was wondering if there's like an opposite, you know, where it's a thing where it's like, hey, we're gonna like, I don't know. I guess it's always dropping the ball if you're not thinking to use magic first.
Yeah, and it's also hard with our characters because like Ron is such a dunce and Hermione is so sharp, you know? So it's like not the perfect example of like a wizard-born to muggle-born situation.
I would like to see more Harry moments. If I could have the series rewritten, I'd like to see more Harry moments of Harry really adjusting to life at Hogwarts, because like, quite frankly, he accepts magic very quickly and falls like right into it. Like he doesn't seem to have any muggle instincts.
He's just really ready for like anything different.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna call the girls back.
Yep.
Okay, great. And so that's how Sokka ends up killing Katara at the end, and it's like really sad.
Wait, what?
I'm just kidding.
How?
Grace, you're still muted.
Yeah, I see.
She was just staring at me, so I assumed the mute was self-imposed.
Well, it should have been.
I'm just kidding. That would never happen. Not my Sokka.
No way.
Okay, here's our next email. Okay, are there any spoilers in here? Okay. This is from Foster, one of our new patrons and one of our new friends on the Discord. Hi, Foster. Thank you for the email. Foster sent us a list of questions that we may want to discuss.
Oh, boy. A list of questions is not a thing I'm particularly optimistic about, I'm not gonna lie.
I did solicit lists of questions from our listeners.
So they're following instructions.
Foster was following my explicit directions. In fact, I posted in the Discord and I got this email from Foster approximately 15 minutes later. God bless Foster.
Foster,
Foster's the
I
MVP.
apologize. You did so well. Good job, baby boy.
Good job.
Okay. Foster asks, what has been your least favorite chapter so far?
Of all of them?
Yeah. Let's say in the first 3 books.
Well, Brooks is going to be a Quidditch chapter for
Yes,
sure.
that's exactly where I was going. The first time he plays Quidditch and catches the snitch in his mouth is a truly, like, it's just the worst chapter to read.
And let's say, like, least favorite chapter, not least favorite episode, because we have had on some really excellent guests for some really bad chapters because
true.
they make up for the bad chapters.
Oh, God, yes. The only reason I was ever able to do an interesting, or we have ever been able to do an interesting Quidditch chapter is because of Adol Rafai.
God bless Adol
It's
Rafai.
true.
Respect on his name, God bless him.
Any other least favorite chapters?
I think all of the first chapters so far have been pretty weak, and that's why I'm excited about this first chapter, because it is not weak.
Spoiler alert, the second chapter sucks. Worse than they usually do.
Oh no. I don't remember that.
Well, because it's literally just like, okay, let's put this cool chapter first, and then it's like, okay, well, the next chapter is Harry Potter was a very unusual boy.
Yeah, this one, the second chapter, is what's normally the first chapter, where it's just
Damn
like
Yeah, it's terrible.
reminding us where we are in case you decided to start with book 4 in a series.
Could you imagine starting with book 4, getting super, super into this like first cool chapter? Because this is the one that starts with like Nagini and the dude and the
Yeah.
right. So
Nagini and the Dude is the name of my grunge band, actually.
That's the name of my OnlyFans.
Spicy!
Yes, Brooke, but I see where you're going.
you know, like to be like, hey, actually, I did just decide to pick this up at book 4 and see how it goes, and you're like, oh, this is dope as hell. And then the second chapter is Harry Manor, the band mythical.
Listen.
some cakes in his floorboards.
You may think this is just a normal boy, but I already told you he's special. Do you want to know how he's special? He's magic.
There is a real possibility that Mott's started with book 4, and I don't even remember if that's
Oh my
true,
God.
but he definitely read them all out of order.
I wrote it down somewhere in the order that I think he started with book 5, actually.
I think he did.
If I remember correctly. Catch Mott's on our next week's episode covering chapter 1 of Goblet of Fire, me, Haley, and Mott's. Yeah, I would have to agree that my least favorite chapter so far would be the Chamber of Secrets or Prisoner of Azkaban first chapter. I would have to re-examine them to remember which one is worse because they are so deeply forgettable.
Yeah.
Mary-Peyton, what about you?
I mean, probably the intro chapters would be that would just make sense. I was trying to think of, I feel like I love the chapters about just like general school, like their classes and stuff, but ones that like harp on the Draco Harry
Rivalry.
when they really harp on it, like a teenager would, like, or a preteen would, just like
Yeah.
talking about other classmates over and over.
Okay, next Foster asks, what is our favorite chapter so far? I know, that one's harder. I mean, I really love, like, the whole climax, several chapters in a row of Prisoner of Azkaban. I really like, like, when they're just, like, learning everything and they're creeping around in, like, the Halloween dark, even though it's June, it's very Halloween-y. So, I would say one of those, I'm not sure exactly which.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is this the right time for me to admit that I don't like Harry Potter?
Wow.
Well,
How do I say
awkward.
this? You are fired.
Okay. Was I hired at any point?
Yeah, you weren't interviewed for this position? What?
My general demeanor is my interview for this position.
It's true. It's true.
Y'all need someone who is going to butt in with an actually at every given opportunity, and that is the role that I fill. Haley and I trade off that responsibility.
Yeah, any other notable favorite chapters?
Probably
Anybody?
like all the other ones.
Okay, the ones besides the first
Yes.
ones.
I really like the chapter as we're exiting the Chamber of Secrets because it's like relief after relief after relief. And
When he like finds Ron and like Fox carries them away.
Yes, and then they see their parents and Fox is there and everything. And like interspersed through all of this is just Gilderoy Lockhart being a damn dumbass in the back. Like, who am I? Where are we?
Can I talk about one from this book? Or are we
No,
talking
it's so far.
So far.
Actually, no.
And just to clarify, Foster did say so far.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, then I don't know. I mean, I can think of like, I guess it's more like based on events that happen, but like so far I really love when Harry is at the lake and he realizes that it's him who casts the Patronus and not his father that pops out, and like he just does it so quickly without really any thought. He realizes like he's the only one who's here to do this thing.
Gryffindor reflexes.
Man, I just love that moment so much.
Yeah.
I also really love the chapter where Harry's in the Forbidden Forest and he has that interaction with Ferenz.
Oh, yeah. That is a great one.
I really like that one.
Yeah. It's one of those that has so many more layers in the book than it does in the movies.
Yeah, and it's just like, it all makes so much more sense once you've read the rest of the books. And it's like, wow, the seeds were planted.
Yeah.
Yes.
My favorite thing about that chapter is it inspired a conversation that has resulted in me having a half-nude picture of me as a centaur hung up next to my desk in my bedroom.
That's also my favorite part of that chapter. Weird.
I just connect so much with that chapter. I don't know why.
It's my favorite thing. When I read in public with the bookmark that is me as a half-nude centaur, I always feel like I have to like flip it over because I'm just like, I've had people like see me take it out of the book before and just kind of like double take at it. Like,
do you have a bookmark of just like imagine having to explain it.
Do you have a centaur pinup picture of yourself on your bookmark?
A full NSFW. Oh no, the bookmark is
the bookmark.
SFW.
I have pasties.
Technically pasties. Although you would still get some weird looks if you whipped that out at work.
Yes.
Okay, Foster next asks, if this series had to be written from another character's perspective, who would you choose? And Foster personally chooses Luna Lovegood.
Aw, that's an awesome choice.
I don't know that the story would have enough, like, cohesive elements if it was written through Luna's perspective.
That'd be okay, though. I feel like that would be fine.
I feel like that would be one of the most different vibes from Harry that you can possibly get.
Yeah. It's like, why is this like an abstract, like purple as hell magical realism book suddenly? Like, this is not the same tone at all.
You wouldn't know whether things were really happening or if they were just in her mind.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool, actually.
Unreliable narrator. Maybe we all choose what you choose, Foster.
I think I would like a Wicked-style rendition where it is either Crabbe or Goyle's perspective of, like, them actually doing all the things that Malfoy gets credited with in the background.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. I was going to say Malfoy. I think that would be really interesting to see kind of his whole... I mean, he's really terrible to Harry, but, like, I mean, his life is also terrible, so...
Yeah.
Any other ideas? Any other wise ideas?
I have a wise idea.
You always do, Little Miss Ravenclaw.
How about Neville Longbottom?
That would be a good one. That's almost like kind of like Wayne from Puffs. Sorry to keep bringing up Puffs.
No, I love it.
It's from the Hufflepuff's perspective, and it's it's like that. Neville, I understand, is not a Hufflepuff, but like, isn't he?
Right.
He's got big puff energy.
Yes. Yeah. I'm really distracted because Haley's texting the group chat about cats currently.
It's
I'm gonna turn my phone over.
You would think that we had actually harmed her by making her watch that movie.
Oh, I didn't realize we were talking about that Cats, not real
Cats
Cats.
2019,
okay.
Sorry.
I got you.
If you could design a Triwizard Tournament challenge, what would you choose? Giant chess.
Yeah. I was going to say the potions one, but...
Oh, the potions from the first one is a good option.
I like
Cedric
that one.
would be out because he's really nice and brave and cool, but he is not super smart.
I think I would do something. I mean, this is just me being dumb, but like I would love to have them all come into a room like fully prepped, and then it's just a bunch of like Sudoku puzzles.
Yeah, nice.
That would
Crosswords.
be so good. Yeah,
I
I
would
would
love-
love some sort of Muggle task.
Minesweeper.
Yeah. Oh my god, Minesweeper. Classic.
I'm like, that's one of those things that like, I wish I could take some of my skill points out of Minesweeper and put them into like hand-eye coordination or like volume control. Like I am so unreasonably good at Minesweeper.
I would also like to see a wizard version of a triathlon where maybe they have to like run and then swim through the lake without getting eaten by anything and then like fly a crazy course around all the turrets of Hogwarts Castle.
I love that.
That's
or
good.
how about like a roller derby?
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
I could see that.
What about like a Hunger Games situation?
Ooh, Hunger Games fight to the death.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're doing.
Actually, I just remembered that Lupin did that whole like dark arts obstacle course for them at the end of book 3. I want to just see a dark arts obstacle course.
Okay.
That's cool.
These are some good ideas.
I was thinking just like debate, you know? Just like what are everybody's political views, you know what I mean?
Typical Ravenclaw right there.
I mean, the scoring system is just absolutely fucked because 2 of the 5 judges for the Triwizard Tournament are are running your competing schools. So it's like, sure, let it be super subjective because you could do it perfectly and still get a bad score.
Also, debate feels really unfair considering 2 of the other 3 people are going to be doing like English as a second language for the entirety of the debate.
That's true. Okay, never mind. It's a terrible idea.
Victor Crumb, first of all, wow, Fleur Delacour would turn on the Vila charm for that. And also Victor Crumb is so awkward. He's so awkward. He probably would just be like, I fold, and like walk away.
It would be entertaining though, at the very least.
Just Harry and Fleur kind of getting into it, and then like Cedric really like calm, cool, and collected in the middle. Crumb has tapped out.
I just feel like Harry would be so silly in a debate setting.
Yeah, he would not handle that pressure well at all.
No need to call me Sir Professor.
He'd be like, Hermione?
Can I get a sub?
I would like, can I phone a friend? They're like, what's a phone?
Oh yeah, who wants to be a millionaire? Who wants to be a Triwizard champion?
Okay, Foster's next question. Thank you so much for all these excellent questions, Foster. Foster asks, if you could turn into a magical creature, what would it be?
Oh.
Wow.
Literally a centaur.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if this is like animagus status, which like I don't think you can turn into like another sentient creature, but
I mean, animals are sentient.
No.
Yeah.
Doesn't sentient mean that you're like aware that you're aware?
Yeah, I feel like dogs clear that bar.
Well, I'm Googling to find sentience, but like I think that that's one of those things that's like a philosophical question.
Wow.
I'm going to go ahead and see Webster's real quick.
Okay, perfect.
If I have to turn into like an animal that's like an animal, then actually I would love to be a poisonous spider. I feel like that would be very useful
Cool. Yeah.
as an animagus, and it's not necessarily a magical creature, but I think the act of turning into it is magical, so...
First of all, how dare Merriam-Webster's define sentience as a sentient quality or state? I'm mad and I quit.
It's not helpful.
Man.
I'd probably be a dog or like a lynx, like a medium-sized furry four-pod, just like run around, romp around.
Does it have to be a magical creature?
I
I don't think so.
Oh, I thought you said magical.
He did say magical creature.
They did say magical creature. Okay. I guess when I read this, because I just finished reading Goblet of Fire, I was thinking animagus. So, Brooke, I actually will allow
Centaur?
the centaur.
Good. Chop my bottom half off. It's not my best half. Replace it with a horse. And I am rolling.
Okay, then I would like to be that. I would like to be that the Arumpent from the Fantastic Beasts. You know,
Oh,
the
yeah.
big, beautiful, lumpy thing. She's so cute.
Aw.
She's
That's
intense.
a good one. I kind of want to be a dragon.
Do you have a species of dragon?
Oh.
You would be a nice Swedish short snout or
Yeah.
the Welsh green. You know, like something kind of like a mellow. You're not like you're not a Norwegian ridgeback.
What about like a Spirited Away type dragon? Like a
yeah.
Falcor
Nice.
type
Yeah.
I'll take it.
dogish dragon.
Yeah.
I was thinking about saying dragon because I would definitely want to be anything that flies. So as long as it flies. And for some reason, what's coming to my mind is this isn't a magical creature, but the giant golden eagle from The Rescuers Down Under.
Ooh.
Did y'all remember that movie? I don't know. I think I watched it at a time when I was a kid where I was just like obsessed with it.
I forgot to think of any magical creatures outside this canon.
That's probably what Foster meant, honestly, but just like some sort of giant bird,
Yeah.
especially if
The-
it's like
the
predatory.
eagles.
So I could, the eagles, capital E.
Once again, real animal, Haast eagle is what you want to be. It's extinct now, but
Yeah,
Simply
but
everyone must look it up. I don't know if I've brought it up on this podcast before.
you haven't. I think we've linked it in the show notes, but I'll link it again now. They are actually terrifying. They are actually straight up the Lord of the Rings eagles, but the ones from Lord of the Rings are magical. So I'll allow it. Okay, last question from Foster. There's a lot more questions. What do you think the wizard drug world is like? That is super interesting.
Ooh.
I've never read really a fantasy book that was edgy. I've read a lot of science fiction books that were edgy in this way, where there's like lots of cool, oh, let me download some malware to my brain microchip and like trip out for the afternoon. But I've never really encountered like dope, cool fantasy drugs. Have y'all? Or do you have any ideas?
So here's the thing. I feel like the line of like what's a drug is going to be really hard to establish in Harry Potter, because when you think about the things that muggles do drugs for, and it's like, okay, for example, hallucinogens are a category of drug, right?
Right.
What's the difference between a hallucinogen and being able to eat a candy where your head like literally turns into a fire hydrant or some shit? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they have a lot of things that have like wild bodily effects that are considered to be playthings and not drugs.
That's true. I think that
That's
the
a good
difference would be like those are novelties, and like I would probably be looking for something that's more of like a feeling than like a physical reaction.
There is that charm. What's it called?
The cheering
it's not the
charm.
the cheering charm.
Yeah.
I was like the cheer up charm. That's not right.
Yeah, the cheering
yeah.
charm
And
where
There's
they're-
a pepper up potion.
they're just like straight rolling after they kind of fuck up the cheering charms. They're like rolling for just straight like hours.
Ron's just laughing for
He's
days.
just laughing. He's like, this is super inappropriate right now.
I feel like it would be very similar to the Muggle world of drugs, where it's just like, because there's, you know, wizards are still technically humans, so they're still going to want and be greedy about feeling good as much as possible. And whether it comes in like a charm form or a pill form, I think they would just be like, I think it would be the same as here.
But there's just so many things that we're already introduced to in the books. Like even like Felix Felicis and stuff like that, where it's just like,
That should be classified as a drug.
they
think
just
so.
don't seem to raise to that level in the wizarding world. Like emotional effects of potions and charms and objects is not considered to be like an experimental or like weird thing. Like everybody just kind of like is fine with altering their moods through liquids.
Give me a wizard psychologist who studies this stuff.
I think maybe it's because they know exactly who made it. Like, I don't know, if you know your meth dealer, you probably feel better about it, right? How does meth work?
I have spoken about many a drug on this podcast, but I can guarantee I do not know how meth works.
How does meth work?
I watched Breaking Bad,
I was just
okay?
going to say, I haven't even seen Breaking Bad.
Okay, well, I got you there, girl.
All right, Grace, tell us, how does meth work?
What? Well, first of all, you have to be a chemistry teacher.
One thing I know for sure is that the wizarding world, drug world, would probably be as sexist as our contemporary Muggle drug world.
True.
Thank you so much for your questions, Foster. That was a lot of really fun discussion, and we appreciate your patronage and your email as always. Our next email is from Adele. I think Adele sent me this like approximately one day after we stopped the last season, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to save this. I'm going to use this someday. And I think this email is what made me be like, hey, wait, maybe we should do a mail episode. So thank you, Adele. Adele says, hi, Restricted Section crew. I've had so much fun listening to you all cover my favorite book in the series, and watching the movie alongside you all was such a blast. Haley, you and I will have to work out some sort of compromise on who gets to screw the Sphinx in the Goblet of Fire. Speaking of my least favorite Harry Potter book, I thought it would be fun to ask you all, what is your favorite of the 3 upcoming Triwizard tasks, / which one are you most looking forward to covering, and why? Looking forward to hearing more Restricted Section shenanigans on the sports book, where she who must not be named started ignoring her editor and added in crazy unnecessary world building. I'm such a fan of this podcast and of the people who make it happen. Love, Adele. Adele, we are such a huge fan of you, and Thank you so much for this email. Which of the 3 Triwizard Tests are you most looking forward to covering?
I mean, you'd have to be an actual sadist to choose the maze, right?
Yes, because it's boring and then terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So
was
I
gonna
like
say-
the lake.
Oh, no. Yeah, oh, well, same.
I like
That
the
was-
lake too.
It's a great choice, Brooke. I really respect it.
You know what, Grace? Great choice for you too. I
Thank you
really
so
like
much.
what the answer of Lake does and says about you as a person. I think
Yeah.
it means that you're really intelligent and you understand the series at a core.
And, like, I'm a water sign, so...
Oh my god, same.
Oh my god, same. Oh my god, all of it. We did this. We did a
We
whole
did this.
bonus
Okay,
episode
okay,
about
okay.
horoscope. How's a horoscope? All of the women on this podcast are water signs, including Mary Clay, who won't tell us her birthday, and we decided that she's a Gemini?
I think
Question
so.
mark?
Does this sound cool to you? If you're a patron, you can listen to it.
It's true. It's
We
true.
really sold that, didn't we?
Was that an ad?
I actually really do enjoy the maze in the books. It is so stressful, so deeply stressful knowing what is coming at the end of it. But the chapter itself is a lot more exciting than the books. A lot more stuff happens. It's really the first time we ever just get thrown okay, when you play D&D, when you're like walking from point A to point B, your dungeon master will like roll for encounter to see if you run into like any random fuck and then like pick a monster at random. And like that's what the maze feels like, is just like, I don't know, just whatever we got, throw it at him. Let's see. It's like really, some of it's like, we never learn about it in the whole series. We're just like, what the fuck is that thing? I don't know. That was scary. So I like it. I like the vibe. I like that when they walk into it, it like gets silent and scary.
Does the Sphinx existing and doing riddles indicate that Oedipus Rex is part of the Harry Potter extended universe?
Wow. I think it just means that J.K. Rowling read Tolkien and was like, how do I get a riddle in here for my stupidest character?
That much is clear. She certainly read Tolkien.
I would like to instead assume that this was an early race of magical people in Oedipus Rex, and that Oedipus Rex was similar to Harry Neville's situation, cursed by his prophecy, except that they hadn't invented the Hall of Prophecies yet for keeping these things from people until the correct moments, and so they just like spit them out at people, and he's just like wandering through the world trying to make sense of it.
Wow. What a nightmare to just have prophecy spat at your face.
Worse or better than fucking your mother and killing your father.
Mary-Peyton, what about you? Which of the tasks are you most excited to revisit?
I think because the dragon one is more like a Quidditch chapter, kind of. It gets a little annoying. I would have to say the lake too.
Yeah.
Because like that whoever wrote these books did a great job of making you really panic and thinking that if Harry doesn't save everyone, they will die. I remember feeling that. And now whenever I reread it or watch the movie, it's so obvious that they wouldn't die down there. They wouldn't let him drown down there, but you feel panicked with him.
Yeah.
I still don't know that that's true. Like,
oh, that they wouldn't let him die?
Yeah, no, I think Hogwarts would absolutely wait, and I don't think they would intentionally let them die. I think they would like wait for everyone to come up and be like, did we forget a kid in the lake?
Yeah. They'd forget one of them. Yeah.
That is super valid, Mary-Peyton. They do. That's an example, I think, of a way that Harry's an unreliable narrator, because he like builds this scene in which that he has no other choice, but he does. And when they break the surface, Ron calls him like a stupid prat or something for like even considering that this was his responsibility.
But it really felt so heroic at that time. And of course, obviously Dumbledore thought it was heroic too, because he gave him more points. But yeah, it just, you realize how dumb it is at the end, but you're still totally in it with him.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's some additional questions from Adele that she sent us via the Discord. Adele says, many people mention the fourth book as the moment when the series becomes for young adult readers with more maturity rather than for children. Are you looking forward to the tonal shift in the series? And if so, why? Do you think Goblet of Fire and future books still have any of that childish whimsy? And if not, will you miss it? Great question, Adele. Mm-hmm. What do we think?
I am so excited for that tonal shift. I love that part. And that's where we were talking about earlier, remembering the first time we read this. I remember specifically it was like 3 a.m. and I was in my room that I currently shared with my little sister, and everyone was asleep, obviously. And getting to the part where it shifts to the graveyard, and it was scary because it was like so quiet in my house, and it became so dark, and I was wrapped up, I think, in a way that was different than the first 3 books. Even those were really engaging. It was just something more magical to me.
Well, and also the climax resolution of the first 3 books. I mean, Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets, that's like 3 chapters maybe. Prisoner of Azkaban, it's maybe 4 or 5. But like the resolution of Goblet of Fire is like 10 straight chapters.
Yeah.
It's bonkers.
Yeah.
And I think that is an important thing that's missing from the movie. And the movie just goes from Cedric's death to, next day, and I guess everyone's sad, but mostly fine. But the book just really spends a lot of time on that, and I think that's really awesome.
I mean, I read this morning. The book drags so much in a way that is like very well done between when Harry gets back from the graveyard and like when it ends. It is like agonizing. And something that I really appreciate is they show Dumbledore and Fudge breaking up in the books. And like in the movies, it's just kind of like, well, what do you expect? It's a politician and an educator. They don't see eye to eye ever. But it's like, there's like a very realistic actual breakup. And I think that's a really important part of that denouement as well.
And also, don't even get me started on the Sirius situation.
I know. No, I know. Ugh. Dumbledore's like, Madame Pomfrey, this dog's going to accompany Harry to the hospital wing. And I just like wish that when I wasn't feeling good, I could just summon a very well-behaved dog to snuggle me, you know?
I don't even necessarily see it as a tonal shift. I like the later books so much more than the early books. That like when I think back on the series, they all have this tone to me.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like I find elements of the tone of the later books in the earlier books more than vice versa.
That's a very interesting perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You know, apart from the darker tone, we also get more nuanced humor throughout this book, which is so enjoyable. And that really only escalates, I think. Maybe book 7's like a little bit of an exception. Everyone's dying. We're on the run. But the humor to me gets so much more fun. And like, I remember also being a kid and like I learned a lot of words from Goblet of Fire, where I don't think the previous 3 books really taught me a lot of vocabulary. But I, for some reason, really specifically remember a couple words that I learned from this.
I'm excited for the tonal shift too. And I think that what's really cool about this book is that I just think this book and following this book, it becomes so much more character driven.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's like to do with the tone necessarily, but I think that it is at least kind of. And that's just something I really, really enjoyed through the rest of the series.
Yeah, I think hand in hand with that as well, I do really enjoy when the romance starts happening because it's all so bad. Like, there's no good, healthy, like, there's no, like, saccharine, like, please, that's enough of this, like, straight white romance. There's, like, none of that. It's, like, all so awkward and bad the whole time. Like, every romantic encounter is just, like, so god-awful.
That's the humor you were talking about.
Yes, I love it so much.
That's also like what this period of your life is.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
you know?
Absolutely. Adele's next question. Also, what is your favorite side character introduced in Goblet of Fire? Potential candidates include Winky, Ludo Bagman, Crumb. I know some of those may not sound familiar to you, Brooke. Adele goes on to say, we know my answer. I've said it before and I'll say it again. # Bertha Jorkins deserved better.
Aww.
I'm going to second Bertha Jorkins because y'all know I love a well-intentioned idiot who fucks up and everyone hates her. She's the underdog now. I am here for that bitch.
She's the one that like disappears, right?
She disappears, weird, in the last known hiding spot of Lord Voldemort.
Mm-hmm.
Let's never look into that. That's probably nothing.
I love to hate Rita Skeeter. I will say, as the books progress, we get like so many better bad guys. Like,
Yes.
up until now, like, Voldemort's just kind of been like looming in the shadows, and there's like one very clear big bad at the end of everything.
Yeah.
And like we start to get these like really fun, like intensely detestable bad guys in the later books, you know, like Umbridge, Rita Skeeter, and like that is a thing that I really enjoy.
That's a great point. And now that you brought that up, there are so many bad guys and they're all such different characters. Like the spectrum from like Snape to like, I'm like, who's even and Bellatrix and like Fenrir Greyback and like you said, Umbridge, like they're so, and like even considering Snape's ending, I still consider him to be like a nuanced bad guy. You know what I mean? Like there are some really cool characters that crop up in this. And then there's some characters who are just like forever neutral, you know, like kind of like Snape. It's like, are you a good guy? Or are you a bad guy? In the end, you're just like a guy. And that's like part of the story. Or like fucking Mundungus Fletcher, where it's like, are you a good guy? Technically. But you're kind of a bad guy.
We also get away from the kind of like meddling, like childish, like bad guys, people like Filch, where it's like, he's just trying to do his damn job. Like, you know what I mean? And like that's such a hallmark of like children's books, because adults in positions of annoying authority that keep you from living your dreams are an easy to go to bad guy.
Wow.
But as the books mature, you get actual bad people thrown in there, and we kind of move away a little bit from like, you know, Peeves being the worst thing that happened to you that week.
Yeah. I think Adele bringing up Winky is good. I am excited for that, to revisit the whole house elves situation, because
Spew.
this is where that whole thing starts. Yeah, Spew starts. Hermione. Oh, Hermione. Oh, girl.
I like the book like stylizes it. Like when Hermione's talking, it's in like all capitals with punctuation marks, like a proper acronym. But when other people are saying it, it's all lowercase, always in italics every time, because everyone's always like spew. Like,
Oh, God. Like her intentions are so good, but just like, wow.
yeah. Also, like, kind of just another example of how J.K. Rowling, the author, I'll say her name because she hates women, dude. Like Mike said it once in it, like in like chapter 2 of Sorcerer's Stone, and like I just have not stopped thinking about it since. Like she hates her female character so much, and it's like, look at this stupid nagging idiot. The whole book, it's like how silly does she look right now?
Not great.
Not great. Mary-Peyton, what about you?
I was gonna say Winky. Because I love her, and the poor thing is so torn, like, and like almost tortured the whole time, and she's so cute. I don't know. I mean, I think you guys kind of nailed it, where like there are so many new characters in this one, of so many different levels of likability and good and bad and apathetic. And I think this, like, I think it goes with the tonal shift, but like, also the idea of good and evil kind of shifts to this like more adult version of it, where
It's like a gradient rather than a binary.
Yeah, and we start to realize that often the people that cause the most harm are the people who are either avoidant, like Fudge, you know, like trying to pretend like everything's fine, people who are apathetic, you know, that those things can do the most damage.
Okay, thank you so much, Adele, for all of your questions in your email. We love you a lot. Hey, girl. Email from Mots. Mots says, hello there. So I've been re-listening to the podcast lately, and I keep thinking about Tom Riddle's diary. Do you think Lucius Malfoy wrote in it before planting it on Ginny? Dear Tom, lately I've been contemplating cutting my hair short. Narcissa got mad at me and said that it's just my midlife crisis talking. What do I do? Please help me, Tom. Best wishes, Lucius. Mots goes on, I like to imagine part of the reason why he had to get rid of it was that Narcissa got mad at him for spending more time with the diary than with her. Also, what if Gilderoy Lockhart had picked it up in the bathroom instead of Harry? Don't you think he'd write in it? If so, what would he write? The most vain, self-absorbed shit, like how we see him for most of the series. Or the darkest secrets he has, like all the things we know he did. Also, Am I the only one who feels like picturing Voldemort writing in this diary immediately makes him a lot less threatening and intimidating? Anyway, thank you all for being awesome. I love this podcast. It truly is the highlight of my week. I have the honor to be your obedient servant, M. Fur. Well, Mott's, this podcast is going to be the highlight of my weekend because I'm recording a beautiful episode with you. This is a lot of really good, hilarious points about the diary. Guys, any thoughts, feelings?
I think that Lucius would have absolutely written in the diary, but I think it would just be like horrible fanboy questions. Like, hey, Tom, because he knew what this was. Be like, hey, Tom's like, what's your favorite color? Like, do you have a favorite food? Like, do you like spring or fall?
Do you think it makes me like less badass of a Death Eater if I go for this pumpkin spice latte?
Do you think my hair looks box dyed?
Yes.
And he just like brings, and then later with like anyone else in the real world, he's like, he brings it up all the time. He's like, oh my God, Tom was so funny today.
And I, once again, want to reiterate one of my favorite darkest fan theories that we came up with on the podcast about Gilderoy Lockhart is that he is secretly gay, and when he sleeps with men, he tells them all his dark secrets, and then he obliviates them afterwards. And that's how he purges it from his system.
Theory.
It's not a good theory in that it's like fun, but it's a great theory in that like you can immediately see it.
Okay, it's not fun though from like a storytelling perspective. Okay, here's Mott's next question that he asked in the Discord. If you had to choose one Harry Potter spin-off series that you wanted to be made, what would you choose? And I would choose like a Casanova type Lockhart series where he's burdened with being the protagonist, so he has to like change slightly and take action, you know?
I like that. My theory for the Gilderoy writing in the diary, though, is that he doesn't write anything. He just sketches self-portraits. And that's it.
They all look like Greco-Roman statues of himself.
Yes. I was going to say stick figures.
Does that mean that Tom Riddle writes back art critiques?
I don't know how to say this. Your nose is a lot bigger than that.
I went straight for the nose, too, in my mind. I was like, definitely comment on the nose. Because you know Voldemort is sensitive about the nose situation.
Oh my gosh, I was thinking that Greco-Roman statues have big, strong noses.
Oh yeah, okay, great.
I do love the idea of my dear, sweet, stupid Lucius sitting down to write in a diary. He's already, like, not even a remotely threatening character to me. It's like, in the beginning, he has, like, in Chamber of Secrets, he has just, like, the most minimal amount of sway on, like, the board of governors for the school or whatever. But he pretty much goes MIA for the next two books and then comes back as Voldemort's #1 coffee bitch. You know, like Lucius Malfoy is the intern who never got promoted.
Yeah, it's giving me like Bo Burnham's unpaid intern.
Woo!
You know?
Yes.
If anyone knows.
Yeah, so he's like already not very threatening to me, but just picturing him writing in the diary does make it better.
Wait, is it Lucius or is it Voldemort writing in the diary?
Oh, the intimidation, that was Voldemort.
Oh, well, you know what? I'm just like using these questions like Play-Doh to mold
good.
my
I
own.
like it. I just want to make sure we're answering all the questions, you know what I mean?
I would love to see, like we were talking about TV, like spinoffs. I would love to see like a Big Brother type show, but with all the kids in the dorms, and they'd have like a confession camera. And
Ooh, that's good.
I like that.
I'd like that.
I would like to have a spin-off series of like young McGonagall and younger Dumbledore like having adventures together.
Yeah.
Also because I believe this was included in like Pottermore material later, but at some point McGonagall was like married and living in Hogsmeade and like kind of commuted into Hogwarts.
Yes.
And so, like, I want to see all of that. I want to know, like, how she got all this experience. Like, I want to know what she was like when she was young, wild, and free.
Oh my god, have y'all seen the movie The House with a Clock in Its Walls?
Yes.
Okay, well, there's a very adorable, like, deeply platonic adult wizard friendship in that movie that I think is actually probably, like, straight up what a younger McGonagall and Dumbledore were, like, just, like, constantly dissing each other in, like, the most intelligent, mutual, like, loving way.
Yeah,
That's
and
beautiful.
they like get really snippy with each other, and like they know each other's flaws, and yeah, that would be beautiful.
Yeah, great team. It's just, you love to see it.
Okay, other end of the spectrum, hear me out. Love Island.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Love
when everybody's way
Island.
older.
Oh my god. With like the faculty?
It would have to be, right?
Yes,
Well,
with the
yeah.
faculty.
I would honestly love to see a Love Island concept with like the like obscure order adults. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
get like, you know, Bill and Charlie up in that bitch. Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Toss
Yeah.
Booty in there, see how that goes.
Ooh, I'm really excited to hang out with Bill and Charlie in this book.
Yes.
Me too.
At length.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
At length.
Whatever length that may be.
I'm more of a girth girl.
Brooke, that's not the first time you've said that to me this week. Why were we talking about that already this week?
Because I like a girthy dick.
A couple other questions. These are ones that I wrote, just 3. Who has been your favorite character so far in the trilogy? Based on their behavior in the first 3 books, you know?
It's got to be Harry Potter. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
For me, I think it's maybe like McGonagall. Like, she's just like, she's strong. I have so many questions. Like, I just love her spirit. I love whenever I see her, I'm like, ah, good. Okay, we're safe now.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to only consider the first 3 books because I was going to say Molly Weasley, but
She's kind of just a nag in the first 3 books.
yeah, that's not great. But I feel like she has some good moments in this book.
She
So
has
that
some
doesn't
really good
count.
moments. She has actually, God, there's just so much stuff that happens in this book.
I know. I'm so excited.
I think I like Ron a lot if it was just based on the first 3 books. I mean, I still love Ron a lot, but I feel like he'd probably be my favorite because he's funny and he's such a great friend through all of it.
Yeah.
I would also say Ron. I don't know, like he's got such like he's got like a whole personality in the books, you know?
Yeah,
And
it's
he's,
surprising.
He's funny and he's charming and he's not great at school, but he's not a smart guy. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd give him a chance.
I was like hardcore team Ron in terms of like being a young girl and being like, if I could date any of these boys, if I could snog, it would have been Ron.
Yeah, me too.
I really don't remember having crushes on either of them, which feels so weird to me because I was not a horny preteen. Like, I definitely was, but I don't know if they were just like unsexy to me, and I was into other hotter stuff like Twilight, etc.
Not hot enough.
I don't
Could you
think
imagine getting that note from your publicist? Like, I don't know if this book is hot enough.
It's for children.
it's about children.
No, I hear you, but
It gets
the note stands.
It does get
You've
hotter.
already got them making out. I just feel like maybe go further with that.
So cool. I like those answers. I also do really love. I know my first choice was the most serious character in the entire first 3 books, but my second choice is Fred and George because they carry like 90% of the comedic, like all of the comedic writing in the first 3 books. Other people get funny. Harry Potter gets much funnier. Like the narration. I think that's partially Harry Potter like becoming more informed, becoming an adult, but I think it's also partially the Voldemort becoming like a more competent writer who is like more stylized and like more secure in their voice. So, what has been different for you on this read of the first 3 books that is different from previous reads?
Well, I remember them now, so that's nice.
Yes.
This
Good.
is, you know, again, I think I've said it before. This is my first time rereading the book since I like originally read them.
Yeah. So this is your first time reading them with any kind of like critical training, like any kind of like really like literary background and your whole adult brain.
Yeah, and like surprisingly my whole adult brain like developed okay, and it's been interesting. I was really shocked by the amount of like raw child abuse that goes on in these books.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't get better.
Like as an adult, like that's shocking. I think as a kid you just don't think about it, but like
Yeah.
You
That
just
has
accept
truly
it for
been-
what it is. But
Right.
no.
As a kid, you're like, what if I was in an abusive household, and then I got told I was a wizard, and then I got took to this really dangerous school where I had to like do all these grown-up fights. Like, what if that happened to me and there was no one else who could do it? It was just me.
But the actual like undertone of that is always like, what if you're normal but you're not normal, you're special? And like as a kid you're like, I am special. And as an adult you're like, no one's fucking special. You're not special. Gandhi's not special. The Queen of fucking England isn't special. Go sit the fuck down.
Yeah, basically.
But also don't hurt people needlessly.
Right, yes.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Wow, never reread them so slowly.
That's for damn sure.
As we have on the cast.
It's good for you. It's good to pace yourself.
It is good.
It's like how when I have goldfish cracker snacks, I eat them with chopsticks so that I can only eat them one at a time. You know, it's like a built-in pacing mechanism.
Gosh. That's how I eat hot Cheetos, but that's mostly because of the red dye.
Yes. Oh my gosh. My plug for this week is please use chopsticks to eat almost all snacks.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a good call. I endorse that.
Wow.
Okay.
I guess that was the end of what I was going to say.
I mean, well, none of us have ever read it for the purpose of a podcast. That's something we have in common.
Just like I've never thought about it as much as I have. You know what I mean?
Barely even thought about it.
I've barely thought about it.
I've mentioned this before that the first time I read them, I was 8, and like as an adult, all of the 15 times I've read them since then, every single one of those rereads was informed by my first interpretation of them to some extent.
And I was just like, that's how it is.
Yes. So like rereading them this time has just absolutely like blasted my brain open in the Harry Potter universe. And I'm so grateful.
With everybody else's perspectives on the podcast, I'm just like, damn, I got some smart friends, by the way.
Yes. And now like cool. I'm like fully convinced that Snape was in love with James. You know, like everything is different now. Mary-Peyton, what about you?
Probably analyzing like the rules of the world outside of the storyline. It's like just the storyline. So, you know, reading, I'm sure I analyzed it a lot the million times that I read it before this podcast. And I know I did, but analyzing, I feel like at that level was just like, why does that work here? Like, how does that work again? But with the podcast, like, we just go on these tangents of talking about, okay, what does that mean for the rest of the wizarding world? Like, we're talking about the drugs of the wizarding world. You know, I don't think I've ever thought about that before.
I will say that this podcast has caused Harry Potter to infect my entire life in terms of, like, moving through the world. It's like I think about Harry Potter more than I've ever thought about Harry Potter in my life. I relate it to just about everything. It's really good in a business setting. You're really helping me with my job there, Tina.
I do relate to that deeply. I'm the Harry Potter friend. Everyone mentions it to me always. When there's like a really good TikTok, I get it sent to me like 7 or 8 times. That being said, if you see something funny and you want to send it to me, please continue to do so, because a lot of my friends send me really hilarious stuff, and I use it for this podcast social media account. So I am grateful. Last question of the session, and I do apologize that we didn't get the opportunity to visit every question. We got a lot of really awesome questions from all of our devoted listeners, and we love you a lot, and we're so grateful that you took the time to kind of engage with us today. So if we didn't read your question, it's because of time. So now it's time for the last question. Who is a character that just in this past rereadings of like these first 3 books, who is a character that you've totally changed opinions on?
Honestly, Petunia, which is maybe a weird thing, but I had never really thought of her in any other way than like, you know, like a bitchy, awful woman. And like really digging into her psychology, as we have done now 3 times in our very first chapters of each book, and really thinking about like what probably caused this, like what brought this on, and also the realization that she did actually have to raise baby Harry. Like, babies take a lot of work, and she did that, you know? Like, all of those kind of things compounding together. I don't know that I necessarily have like a different opinion of her in terms of like I still think she's a bad person, but like really digging into what we think might be making her tick has completely changed the way that I view her actions. Like I find her to be somewhat more forgivable now.
I definitely agree that like an adult perspective on Petunia gives you more sympathy for her.
I think for me, it's Hagrid. And Brooke, you may have had some influence on that.
I fucking ruined Hagrid for you, didn't I? I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. No, I just, when you're a kid, you don't notice all of the things that Hagrid is doing, and you're not asking yourself, why is Hagrid doing that? But I did. I asked myself that this time. And Hagrid did not come out too great. That's okay.
Well, that's the thing. When you become an adult, you have to start asking yourself, is this an appropriate way for an adult to behave? Because up until you're like 14, maybe, you can kind of act however you want. It's like, she's just tired. She's just hungry, But it's like,
just needs to drink some more water.
It's like, we're all like, okay, I know this. This is inappropriate adult behavior for sure. You can't judge me.
So, sorry, man.
I was also going to say Hagrid, but here's a hot take that here's my character that I've totally changed opinions on, kind of. Dobby.
Okay.
I don't like him.
How fucking dare you?
And I think that I've never liked him, and I'm just kind of, this is the first time I've ever permitted myself to not like him. I find him deeply meddling and obnoxious, and I feel like he's like, he's just there for sympathy. That's like all he has. Like, look at this poor pathetic creature. He's so like, he's such a caricature of a character, and I don't like him. I think that his role in the story should have been done like well, or like not at all, and I don't think it was done well.
He could have been more of a Winky character, and it might have worked better.
Winky is rough,
I know,
dude.
but like,
let's revisit that after the
like, I
rewrite.
get that. I'm not saying like full Winky, but like, like he could show any amount of like actual stress at what he's endured instead of just being like, LOL, I ironed my knuckles. Anyhow, you can't go to school. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little nuts.
Yeah.
Can I say J.K. Rowling?
Ooh,
Yep.
round of applause.
Thank you.
You win.
Okay,
Man.
you and that's a great place to end this podcast, frankly. I think we've all changed opinions on that woman.
That bitch.
Since I probably wouldn't start this podcast now, but I'm glad that we have it, and I'm glad that we get to be part of the other narrative, I'm glad that we get to contribute to creating a safe space for people who love Harry Potter but are upset by that. But we're not going to harp on that too long, because this is like a pump-up episode. This is a pregame. This is the mailbag episode. I've called it a million different things. One thing's for sure, the very first episode that we record after Goblet of Fire is called Group Therapy.
Thank God.
You're gonna need it. In conclusion, before we move on to plugs, I would like to just one more time encourage everyone to sign up for our Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can be part of our online community on the Discord, where we have a lot of really awesome conversations all the time. There's a lot of really excellent people there. For the $5 tier, you can get monthly bonus episodes, and September's bonus episode is going to cover My Immortal, the mysterious and legendary Harry Potter fanfiction. So I can't emphasize how much you don't want to miss that. So please check us out. The link is in the show notes. So now it's time to move on to plugs. Brooke, where can people find you on the internet?
You can follow me on Instagram at Passion4Parks. You can find me on Twitter at GrumpyBrooke. And this week I am going to plug a book that I read recently and absolutely loved. It is called The Henna Artist. It is by Alka Joshi. It is an awesome, like, female-forward book that's set in post-colonial India, and it's just a really delightful read. It, like, has some twists and turns. It's really just, like, a woman trying to make it on her own in a society that doesn't want her to, and it's just amazingly entertaining. I highly recommend it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Mary-Peyton, what about you? Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Instagram at Richmond Reads or at CrookMP. And you can find me on Twitter at CrookMP, although I don't do much on there. Mostly just retweet on that one.
You show up once a month in like everything I've posted.
Yeah. Just go down the list, just liking, approving.
She's very supportive.
Hey, I do it genuinely. I'm not just liking it. I like it. Okay. But yeah, you can find me there. And then I'm going to plug something that I've been plugging in my regular life to everyone I've seen. So sorry to you guys. But The Haunting of Bly Manor, the show on Netflix, which is so freaking good. I did not watch The Haunting of Hill House, which everyone said was so good, because I do not like scary stuff. So I just avoided it. And my little sister convinced me to watch The Haunting of Bly Manor. And of course it's scary. It's got the word haunting in the title. Obviously. But, man, it was so freaking beautiful. And I'm someone who thinks way too much about dark stuff. So, you know, middle of the season, I was like kind of really feeling it. But like, it's so well done. It's really more of a love story. I could not recommend it more.
Thank you so much for that, Grace. What about you? What have you been doing lately? What do you have to recommend today?
Today I'm going to recommend a podcast called Noble Blood.
Wait, did you just start listening to that?
I've been listening to it for a little while.
Oh my God, I just started listening to that podcast in the past couple weeks.
Well,
yeah.
Great choice. It's really good. It's hosted by Dana Schwartz, and basically she just kind of goes through stories of some messy royals, man. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Just like so much murder.
Yeah, like, okay, when people were like, George R. R. Martin, why did you write these fucked up books? And he's like, joke's on you. It's based on history. This is the show where you're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
It was completely right.
Yeah, it's very good. I definitely recommend just like starting from the top and just binging it because it's awesome.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much. And obviously, I second that plug. So I've been your host, Christina. You can follow me on Instagram at Christina the Con. You can follow me on Twitter at Christina Con. You can follow me on TikTok at Sprouts Private Stash. And this week, I'm going to plug the book Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. It's a retelling of, the Ariadne's story from Greek mythology, which involves like the Minotaur and the Labyrinth and Daedalus and Icarus and Theseus and Dionysus. They all end in sus. Weird. That's pretty sus. It's a very lovely retelling of like a more contemporary retelling of an old Greek myth, and we actually are reading it for our August movie night crew book club, which we're doing over on the Discord. So it's been really exciting to be able to like talk to people as we're reading it. So yeah, I recommend Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. Well, that's the end of it. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming on and chatting with me about The Goblet of Fire and about all that we've read so far and fielding some questions from our beloved listeners.
Here we go again.
Yay!
Yeah, here we go again. Get ready, because it's, this is the grown-up ride now.
This is that roller coaster that goes forwards and backwards.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to be on this one. I don't want to.
You gotta, I'm sorry. From here on out, all the books end in murder. All right, gang, I gotta go finish reading Cool Haircuts for Wizard Daddies before this book tries to shank me. Goodbye. The Restricted Section is thrilled to be a member of the Movie Night Crew podcast network, which features amazing other podcasts such as My Cabbages, an Avatar podcast. My Cabbages is an Avatar The Last Airbender podcast that was started by two lovable nerds during a global pandemic to stave off their inevitable existential crisis.
Coffee, tea, honor, cabbage. Long ago, the four elements lived in harmony. Then, shit went totally cray when the Avatar attacked. Only the Cabbage Man, merchant of fine cruciferous vegetables, could stand against his trolling. But when the world needed some dank veg, he vanished. 10 years have passed, and my partner and I have started a new podcast.
My Cabbages! An Avatar podcast.
A weekly show about Avatar The Last Airbender. Whether it's Sokka's new line of cologne...
Hey, look at you, sitting there on a seal. Well, now look back at me. I'm on an even bigger seal. Now look away.
D&D related antics.
You have to make an acrobatics check for that, and Aang just like unzips his pants and whips out his d20s. He's just like, I got this.
Or randomly breaking into song.
Go bending waterfall.
We'll stumble our way through the greatest show ever made, one episode at a time.
You can reach us at CabbageCast, which is our Twitter, or
subscribe wherever you catch pod.
Rotten cabbages? What kind of slum do you think this is?
The Restricted section was created by me, Christina Kahn, based on the book series by J.K. Rowling. All music by Ryan Kahn. Logo by Michael Hardison. Support us on patreon.com/restricted section. For as little as $1 a month, you can gain access to our Discord community server, which is a really happy place to be. And there are other rewards as well, such as bonus episodes and Zoom happy hour hangouts. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Restricted Section Pod, on Twitter at Restricted Pod, and on Facebook at Restricted Section Pod. Also, feel free to shoot us an email at restrictedsectionpod@gmail.com to share your thoughts, feelings, complaints, conspiracy theories, or even lavish praise.
I cannot chill if I cannot see that my Audacity is currently recording.
That movie sucked.
I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.